Hi Tshego, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Lerato?
Oh, I'm feeling so good. I'm feeling so good. Look, it's a Friday morning, and you know how Fridays are.
Absolutely.
I know you are actually off to work at some point later today. So I'm literally going to delve into it so that we get as much of you as we possibly can while we have you. All right. Thank you so much for saying yes, Tshego. Thank you. It's a brave conversation. So thank you for saying yes.
Definitely. It's more than a pleasure. I'd love to.
All right. So let me introduce you, Tshego, to those who don't know you. Guys,
Sure.
Tshego Dhlamini is a 23-year-old multi-engine and instrument-rated commercial pilot. She completed her, wait for it, it's a mouthful, EASA frozen ATPL conversion in the Netherlands. I have no idea what I've just said. Sounds right. She is currently working as a grade 3 flight instructor at the Grand Central Airport in Midrand. And talk about flying sky high, girl. You are literally, figuratively, and otherwise flying sky high. Yeah. Well done. Well done. It's quite an accomplishment considering you're only 23.
Yes, it's an accomplishment for a very ambitious 6-year-old. That's where this journey all started.
Oh, wow.
So it's been a long time coming. It really has. I've really tried my best to appreciate every milestone, small or big, as it comes, because it's all that I've just focused and narrowed my mind towards from a very, very young age.
Interesting. So tell me something. Look, every time I board a plane, I am a ball of nerves. In fact, I'm a wreck, emotionally, physically, mentally. The favorite part, my most favorite part is actually landing. Nothing to do with the takeoff. Nothing to do with the flight. It's just the landing, because I just can't still wrap my head around us being all the way up there. So what's that feeling like for you?
The landing is, that's where the technical flying starts. So I just wanted to highlight where you're most relaxed, that's where the pilots are really sweating.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So tell me something, talking about sweating. So in a case where there's crazy turbulence due to weather, crazy turbulence, a lot of us at the back of the plane are holding on to our seats for dear life, you know? How are you guys interpreting all of that? Are you guys sweating with us, or do you feel like, okay, it's just the weather, it's just another day?
Well, okay, so just to put into perspective, the first, when a pilot first trains, they're training in a light aircraft, some 2-seaters, some 4-seaters. So I'm talking about a lighter than usual body in the air that is very susceptible to any bullying that the air or any turbulence can have on it. So from a very early stage of your training, turbulence becomes just another day in the sky. It's very normal. With more of your airliner aircrafts, because of the autopilot, because of the systems that naturally just correct the aircraft, we're not doing so much of the work then at that time. So more in your lighter aircrafts, that's where you are doing the job of the autopilot, where you're just, when the wing just drops to one side, you just correct it to the other side. So it's just us just balancing it. But you at the back, of course, having no idea what's happening, being tossed about left, right, and center. It's obviously a different feeling to you. But for us, it's just another day in the job.
Wow. No, really, this is purpose stuff. This is purpose. God, this is a calling. It really is. It's not for everybody. I can tell you that much. Like, you couldn't pay me enough. But where's home? Where are you from, Tshego?
Okay. I am from North Riding, the north of Johannesburg.
Okay.
Born and raised, yeah. Born and raised to a very independent, very ambitious, very strong single mother. She born and raised in Soweto. Grandparents moved here in 1994 and came here in North Riding. And, you know, she just really tried to do the best with what life could offer. And she did everything in her power to make sure that I had the very best opportunities I could with what she could provide. Yes. And so my mom's a human rights lawyer. Equality is the name of her game. She's always preached feminism to me. She's always preached just taking life and making everything you can of it, and that nothing's ever too small for you. So
I love that.
I've just always been so driven and so pushed, and I'm just grateful to have a mother who just a bit different to what the normal African parent would be. She was never intimidated by my drive to becoming a pilot. Yeah, so she has been a driving force there as well. And of course, I have an aunt who, she sort of dived into the industry a bit earlier, and she just made it. She became a mirror to see another young Black woman go through the training and show me that it really is possible. So I'm also grateful to her as well.
So who or what then planted the seed around becoming a commercial pilot? I mean, you were exposed to that at the tender age of 6. Who played that role?
Okay, so honestly, I want to also touch on the fact that when you said it's a calling, I solely believe that. My mom says the same story. So at that time, no one spoke about being a pilot. I had never actually been on an airplane. I just remember I was 6 years old in grade 1. We were asked to just draw, orientation week, what you'd like to be when you're older. And so I drew a very skew airplane, one wing bigger than the other, and just my face there in the front. And I wrote there pilot. So when I can't tell you how I knew that. My mom was also shocked. She's like, we've never spoken about it. I actually thought she'd be a lawyer. That's what she told my teacher. So it's moments like that that really just serve concrete the fact that if it's your calling, look, you don't need the world to teach you what you want to be. So from that age, I've just had a tunnel vision. I've tried to make myself available to places where I could see more of what I wanted to do. My aunt, she realized, I think it was in high school for her, but there I was a bit grown as well. And so she really then dived into that, and it became such a great representation for me to then just build the momentum towards that.
So at at any point did you deviate from this particular course? Did you maybe deviate and then come back and then, because a lot of us do that.
Yeah, so not only was I driven, I must highlight that I'm very stubborn. There was a point where in grade 11, my mom and I think that was the first part we had a bit of a friction. Again, not saying she wasn't supporting what I wanted to do, but she said to me, you have to have a backup. I cannot allow you to start off and just want to be a pilot without at least going to university, get a degree, get something to back you up. And I told her I can't do that. I cannot imagine myself doing anything else. She was frustrated because I had the marks, I had the academics to allow me to go to university, but I was like, I'd be miserable anywhere else. And for me, choosing a backup is kind of saying, what if it doesn't happen? And I don't have a what if in this industry. I have to make it happen. And so I went all in.
I genuinely believe that 100% of a decision is better than 98%. because with 100%, there's surety there. There's strong convictions there. It's the 98% where you live your life in several incompletions. Everything is such an incompletion. So I love that, to say, you know, your stubbornness afforded you that opportunity to remain focused on your path. Yeah. To a point where you even defied your mom to some extent. That's very bold.
Yeah. I think also with that, she just, because it's not an affordable career or training path to take as just your normal African family. It's really not affordable. And so for her, it was just the fear that, you know, you'd spend so much money and not be sure that you would make it. There's just the demographics are known with how it's represented in industries and who specifically stands a better chance in getting a job. So that was her fear more than anything. That was her fear.
On that point, actually, you raised such a good point. Am I right in saying that the industry of aviation is still very much male dominated? Still the case.
It is very, very male dominated. I've seen, though, from the time that I've started, it is improving. And I will say it's improving because of just the greater awareness that is starting to come up. It's the opportunities like you're giving me today to speak about the industry, to inform someone who maybe just for that one point in their life thought about it, but just the stereotype and the voices of society then telling them, oh no, I cannot. But I think the awareness is helping the gender possibilities grow, because training, you see the difference there. We're seeing that qualification, especially with the commercial pilot license, grow. It's then looking into the workforce, so your airlines, your cockpits, your charters as well. That's where you see the gender divide, the dominance so high. Yeah.
So as a young Black female flight instructor who is now bringing on board all these, call it young aviation enthusiasts to train, what is the reaction that you get? What are the remarks, the comments when they see you as young as you are? Never mind.
Look, for many, I love seeing more of when I have our generation, so our 2000s, our late 90s, they're very amped, they're very excited to see just someone around their age doing what I do, and they're mostly receptive. It becomes a bit difficult with the generation a bit older than me, so our early 90s, our late 80s, and then even worse, the 70s and 60s. Because at that point, you're also dealing with professionals. There are executive, the whole executive positions in their respective industries. Some of them are just coming here to do this part-time. So there, I have had just one, and also at the same time, not all of them, because I have a recent student who just blew my mind. His name was Darren Olivia, and he never made me feel like I was too young or too feminine to teach him everything he knows. But of course, you have those, you feel the prejudice from the onset. You feel the agitation. I think I've had one who said to me, wait, let me just speak to a male instructor. I think he can help me with what I'm trying to get. And he hadn't even given me a chance to address his concerns. So it's that, and I don't want to say, I will not say his name, but
please don't.
I think till date, the most difficult one was, and what's worse is he's South African, and you expect this maybe from your Middle Eastern and mostly, but he's South African, and he told me that as per his religion, he will never be taught by a woman, and he'll never fly with a woman and get instruction from a woman. And so I I was like, do I become emotional about this? Because that's another battle you fight when you're in such a male dominant industry. If you express yourself, you're seen as emotional. Just recently, I heard my senior just say, don't upset her. So if I was a male, no one would say don't upset her. And I know it wasn't meant in that way, probably, but it's these things that kind of just start to irk you a little bit now and again. So I just took the high road. I was like, I would be professional. And as a matter of fact, he was then forced to train with me, just with the school just having my back as well, saying that
I was about to say.
Yeah. And so fast forward to about 3 months, he has my number. He calls me when he's uncertain. How do I do this again? When are we flying? I just want you to help me with this. And so just to see that it took a lot of time, it took him seeing or learning to trust my abilities, only for him to then see that I can do the same job that the male instructor he wanted can do. Even the fact that I had the same qualifications, it took me proving myself to him and not being emotional for him to then just receive me in that way.
You know, I did an interview with a gentleman by the name of Mzamo Masito recently, and he spoke to that quite a bit, to say, you know, as he was coming more from just as a Black person perspective, but what more when you are a Black woman, a young Black woman, you know, how you show up, your competence is going to be the thing that really gets you to where you need to get to. And it's rightfully so. It should be absolutely your competence, but only if that is applied to everybody, then would it be everyone equally. You know what I mean? So there's this added pressure, you know, for us to show up in a particular type of way. And it's not to say it's wrong. Like I said, it must be that you are competent enough to occupy what you are currently occupying, but it must be equally apportioned to everyone. That expectation is what we are now fighting for. Wow, Tshego. Do people still marvel at your career when you walk into, call it informal settings, a social gathering, and people ask what you do for a living? Do people still be like, look at you?
Yeah. And us amongst pilots, there's a line we like to say that a pilot's favorite part of the night in any gathering is when the person asks them, what do you do for a living? And they can finally slam that pilot card. Absolutely. I think what I can never get used to is the double look that people give you. They hear you say pilot and they look at you and then they're sort of like, really? So I like that part a lot. And yeah, of course, my mom and grandma, of course, they love to tell their people in my society. Yes.
Tell me something. What does the role of a flight instructor look like every day? So if you could explain it to me like you would to a 16-year-old girl who's beady-eyed and just wanting more.
Okay, so the role of a flight instructor, often our days start quite early. We try to take advantage of as much daytime as possible for our beginner students, and because the mornings often have the best flying conditions, everything is calm. So we always try to push for the morning slots. So we'll start off a bit early. You have your student, and often our bookings last about 2 hours. So we book a 6 to 8 or an 8 to 10. And you just make sure the student is in the right mind frame to fly. They're prepared enough for the exercise that we'll be doing. We check documentation, we check weather very thoroughly, weather at that moment, and then a forecast of when you expect to land again. Because like I said to you, the most work you do is during the landing. So you want to make sure that your conditions are as you'd like them to for the comfort of you and your student. And then we go to the aircraft. We pass through just the maneuvering area, the movement area of the aerodrome. We go to our aircrafts. We do what we call a pre-flight inspection. Most would know only in their driving school lessons, pre-drive inspection, I think it was. But every single time you're going to get into an aircraft, even if I was flying that aircraft in 3 sessions in that day, I will have 3 pre-flight inspections. So you're going to inspect the aircraft externally as well as internally as well. You make sure you have enough fuel, you make sure you have enough oil, and from there you get going. You'll start up. There's a checklist. The student is expected to learn the checklist off by heart, essentially, but always there for backup. And yeah, we talk to the air traffic controller. There's a certain way that we teach the students to communicate.
Yes.
And yeah, we go and we fly.
Wow. Do you ever come across students who are overcome by fear? Just fear of not being on the ground, fear of being in the air, but their why for wanting to become a pilot is bigger than their fear?
That's a very good question. It had me think a bit there, as you said it, but a very good example I have is, again, my recent student who I know is definitely going to watch this. Give him another shout out. So Darren, he was a father who I remember from the start of the training, he just mentioned to me that he wanted to do, because he's a very established lawyer, he's an attorney. I think he has his own practice as well. So he wanted to train and get his private pilot license, not to get a commercial pilot license, just a private pilot license, so that he could buy his own four-seater aircraft and be able to go see his daughters when they start university next year. So I'm like, you're a dad, you did not have to do this, and you're doing this to go and see your daughters when you want to, whenever you want to see them in the year. And so his wife for me just was pinnacle, you know, what your dad is willing to do just for that. And so I remember he once said to me, especially when we start doing our upper air and advanced training, when we do our spins, and we do our spiral dives, he said to me, you know what, Tshego, when you get to a certain age, you start to get very cautious and you start to worry about your life. And it's these exercises where I really don't look forward to them at all, you know. He says you start to be a bit nervous about stuff. Your adrenaline goes all the way down. So I really, for the life of me, I need to prep myself beforehand before I get to. And so I saw in the beginning, it would be a bit for him, a bit uncomfortable, but because he knew why he was doing it, and because I was aware of it too. So now and again, you know, you throw that line of your daughters, and you immediately see the fatherness in him just say, okay, I'm going to brave up, I'm going to do this. And it was beautiful to see, because he then just soldiered through the rest of his training, and he completed in good time. Yeah, so that was, I think, the best example I have for that.
So, you know, you spoke about his why, which I completely resonate with as a parent myself right now, you know, is that we are prepared to overlook our fears, our anxieties, our things, basically, to get the job done, or to live up to the responsibilities that we have. What is your why right now? I know you spoke about purpose calling when you were 6 years old. Is it still the same, or has it matured right now?
Okay, so it has been I think the driving force, especially towards the more challenging parts of my training when I was training, was more on the purpose side.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm doing this, I have to. I have no other choice but to make myself happy, knowing that I made the right decision.
Okay.
And then it sort of became now me turning back and wanting to do this for my mom.
Oh, wow.
Not to take away anything that I'm not passionate. I'll forever die loving flying, but it's just now becoming a tribute to my mom, in the sense that she has shown me again how much she was able to just pursue what she wanted to do, and still on the side make sure that she had enough time to give me the drive or the force towards achieving what I wanted to achieve. And so now just to see her then rest, I think at some point, knowing that how she mirrored her life, just being a human rights lawyer, Something that she said to me was never about the money, because if she wanted to have that, she would have been a commercial lawyer. She said I would have made tons of money there. Most of her friends, her colleagues, they're living lavishly, and they when they're right in the rightfulness. So she said she wanted to go to bed every day knowing that she is fulfilling a part of her heart, knowing that she's giving back. This is something she's always wanted to do.
Sure.
And so for me, it's just again to show her that I've been preaching this. You've seen me preach it. I want you to know that you've become such a good model towards me, showing you that every single day I'll go to bed knowing that I've done exactly what I wanted to do, the same way you've shown that to me. So I think it's becoming more of that for me.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, Tshego. Have you guys ever had a conversation around, because I know at some point she was not pro this option that you finally went with, but in hindsight, now that she sees you becoming this, woman who is taking ownership of herself, her career, her choices, and like you said, she's proud of you, she's showing you off, she's telling everyone who will listen, do you think that there was a lesson there for her? In terms of just now that she can see what you have actually become versus what she actually wanted for you? Does she acknowledge the shift in how she perceives things?
I think so. I'm very positive in that, because like, again, she was a university student. She went straight from high school, university law. So, textbook material in terms of securing your future. So I think what she saw is because of the commitment that I showed, and how I just said, you know what, I'm going because this is what I want to do, that even now she respects my qualification as much as I feel like she would had I gone to university.
Yes.
Because now I have a 13-year-old younger sister. She is a brilliant athlete. She's absolutely brilliant. And my sister told my mom this one time, and she says, I want to be a professional athlete. And I just at that point I knew what my mom was going to say, but then she shocked me. She's like, is that what you really want to do? And my sister's like, yes. She's like, will you be committed? Will you make sure you get to what you want to do? She's like, yes, I will, mommy. And she was like, okay, then you're going to be a professional athlete.
Wow.
And I just stepped back. I was like, okay.
Wow.
I think the biggest sister in me felt a bit jealous. I was like, I wish I had that. But again, I think she felt comfortable because she saw that you don't have to follow, again, as she says, her security method of getting a degree. But she 100% has seen it now in a different light, and she's actually practicing that through my little sister.
This is such an important point to raise. I'm thinking about just other young people who may come across this episode, who are at that crossroad where they are confused between choosing what they want to do and going with the path that their parents would like for them to go with. But, if you are fully committed and you are 100% in, when it comes to your own choice, and you're willing to put in all the work, it makes it easier for those who have the best of intentions for you to accept. Once they see you taking full ownership and responsibility for that which you have set out for yourself, without them, encouraging you, motivating you, pushing you, obsessing over you, but you just doing it. It's inspiring for them, I'm sure.
The point there is what you've put so well. You shouldn't be pushed. You shouldn't be motivated. If this is the path you're going to take, make sure because you're no longer just doing it for yourself. I know you shouldn't have to prove anything to anyone around you, but we also need to understand that there are people who love you. They want to see you secured. They want to see you, in their opinion, do what's in for your best interest. Yes. So you also have a responsibility to then give them the comfort as well, to say, hey, look, don't worry. I've got this, and you can see I've got this because, as you can see, I'm diligent in this place. I'm availing myself. I mean, it's stuff like attending your air shows. It's stuff like attending, I think it was a Waterkloof air show as well, for job shadowing in high school. I was grateful enough to have a teacher who got me in connection with her brother-in-law. She wasn't even my direct teacher, but somehow she knew. I don't know how, but I think I was that obsessed. She knew that I wanted to be a pilot, and she got one of the teachers to tell me, look, this weekend at Rand Airport, I think I was in grade 10. This weekend at Rand Airport, come for an introductory flight. My brother-in-law would like to, so just again, showing up for your passion. Make yourself fill yourself around with the motivation around that. It will start to exude through you and just give those around you just that security as well.
I love it, Tshego. I can't believe you're only 23, by the way. Wow, quite impressive, very, very impressive. So listen, if I'm a young woman wanting to pursue this career of aviation, what is the biggest challenge I can expect to come across? And how did you, Tshego, mitigate that challenge, work around that challenge?
So one thing I can say is you're going to have to need to have a very thick skin. And that doesn't only apply to aviation. I mean, you hear about all these industries, especially the culinary industry. You would expect for it to be a bit more female indulged or concentrated, but actually the more executive positions are mostly male. So it's a lot, but I think it's just the reality of what our life has to be now as females that seek professionalism. So you're going to have a thick skin. You're definitely going to have drive internally and not be dependent on people to keep reassuring you. And you're just going to have to step it up a step higher, one, above our male counterparts. And two, this needs to also to give you that extra step up.
Yeah. And what is the most rewarding thing about what you do?
Oh, okay. So one, I'll just break this up into one of a more selfish reward, a personal reward. When I am flying, just the peace. There's something about the peace of just hearing the engine of a light aircraft through your headsets as well. The peace of feeling the friction of the earth leave you as you're airborne, just feeling just the air, the peace of feeling, of just seeing blue skies, especially in the summer, of seeing the beauty of landscape, of seeing how just, again, concentration of settlements changes the way you're going to fly over a certain place. Seeing how you can manipulate a heavier than air body, an aircraft, it's about 2,300 pounds. Seeing how you can, just using a control stick and rudders there by your feet, and a power quadrant, how you can have the power to manipulate that heavier than air object to sustain flight. It's the peace. It's truly just the peace. And then to just answer you in terms of instruction, I really had so much respect and adoration for my instructor. His name is Gopinath. I'll never forget that man. He never ever made me feel like I was any different to any of his male students. He never ever made me feel that I was different because of my age either. He was as hard as he had to be for me, like he would be with any student. He pushed me. When I was slacking, he told me, "You're not here to do that. You're not here to slack." When I'd achieved something, he'd be there, the first one to congratulate me. So I know I'm about to feel emotional, but I know the role that he played in my life, and I'm so grateful to be given the opportunity to even be, if it is even just me being half as good as an instructor as he is, but to just be that same support structure for someone, and seeing them blossom from someone who just walked into an office wanting to fly to them being handed a private pilot license saying you're competent to fly and fly people in the same aircraft. So that's one of the most rewarding things for me.
Sure. Am I not teary-eyed myself right now? Wow. I'm no lies. This is the first interview I have done since the beginning of Braving It, where I have been aroused so deeply in the core of my soul, because I can touch the purpose in you. I can touch the calling in you. You have just described it like someone who's owning, this gift. And that's why it's so emotional. You are owning your gift in a way that I don't come across, in a way that I don't expect a 23-year-old to own. It can only be that, a gift, a calling, a purpose. Wow, Tshego, this is inspiring. Truly, truly, truly is. The next question I was going to ask you is, do you feel like you are in the frequency of your calling? And it's exactly that. It's a yes, yes, yes. I will answer that for you. It's a big resounding yes. My gosh.
Yes.
And then in true Braving It style, I have to ask, and this is the last question of the day. The question is around the industry that you are in, aviation. What is the biggest thing that you are currently braving at the moment in the industry of aviation?
Okay, so the biggest thing that I'm working towards is, again, I'm on a mission of trying to, I haven't stopped, by the way. I'm an instructor, but I haven't stopped grinding to where the 6-year-old me saw me. I'm going to be in the cockpit of the airline of my dreams. So it's just still soldiering through that beat, trying to beat the demographics. If it's not happening for me here, I'm branching out. I'm trying to see what countries are aligned with the frequency of what I have to offer. So I started off with my EASA, as you said, you didn't know what that is. It's just a European license. I'm just converting my South African to a European frozen ATPL. So what I have is a commercial CPL. So we have a private pilot license at the bottom, then a commercial, then an ATPL, which is an airline transport pilot license. So I'm converting my South African commercial license to a frozen ATPL in Europe. So it's the conversion is about 14 exams, which are twice the amount that you do here in South Africa. So I've completed those, and I had started with a bit of the more advanced system flying with performance-based navigation, with the GNSS flying. For those who are pilots, they know exactly, you'll know what I'm talking about. But again, due to COVID, I had to come back and cut that trip short. So now that South Africa only started getting the green light from the Netherlands, I'm still trying to make my way there. Just trying to get back there and complete then my conversion, and then hopefully just open my doors up to the rest of Europe then, because here with this license in South Africa, you sort of more constricted to just South Africa. Whereas the Europeans, you're open to a whole number of other countries. I'm also looking at the possibility of Canada if the European doesn't work for me. So that's where I'm branching off with also my mom's backup plans, but it's backup plans within the industry. Looking for, I have a friend in Canada who was we trained together at some point. So we're just sort of trying to see how we can dabble there. But Canada seems like more of a realistic venture than the European, because the demand and the competition in Europe is also quite large. So Canada is more receptive to immigrants, immigrant workers. So that's looking a bit more promising. But I haven't stopped. I'm still gonna work my way through and see it through.
And you will succeed. You will succeed. You have the makings of success. You have the makings of success. You're going to do well. You're going to fly higher. You're going to literally and figuratively fly a lot higher. Thank you for being so exemplary. Thank you for this episode. It's very difficult to measure the impact that each episode has, or even just each conversation that you have with people out there. But at the end of the day, ours is not to count how many lives we have touched, but just to acknowledge that we are living in our purpose. And that is good enough. You know, that in itself is good enough. Thank you so much, Tshego, for your time this morning. And I wish you a wonderful day.
Thank you too. Thank you for the opportunity. I really, really appreciate it.
It's such a pleasure. It was lovely meeting you. And I can't wait to meet you in person and hopefully get to fly one of the airlines that you are going to be, fly in one of the airlines that you'll be flying one of these days.
Definitely.
Oh man.
It's a beautiful work that you do. You've gained a subscriber. Beautiful.
Thank you. Have a wonderful weekend ahead, yeah?
Thank you, you too.
All right.